we can start. Yeah, recording is started. So we have to read this paragraph. But more important is the power of the subliminal. It's about a page, one page. In your book, it will be more than a page. So today, Sunki, you read yesterday. So Archana Di, do you have text and are you in a position to read?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
But more important is the power of the subliminal to enter into a direct contact of consciousness with other consciousness or with objects, to act without other instrumentation by an essential sense inherent in its own substance, by a direct mental vision, by a direct feeling of things, even by a close envelopment and intimate penetration, and a return with the contents of what is enveloped or penetrated, by a direct intimation or impact on the substance of mind itself, not through outward signs or figures, a revealing intimation or a self-communicating impact of thoughts, feelings, forces. It is by these means that the inner being achieves an immediate, intimate, and accurate, spontaneous knowledge of persons, of objects of the occult, and to us intangible energies of world nature that surround us and impinge upon our own personality, physicality, mind force, and life force. In our surface mentality, we are sometimes aware of a consciousness that can feel or know the thoughts and inner reactions of others or become aware of objects or happenings without any observable sense intervention or otherwise exercise powers supernormal to our ordinary capacity. But these capacities are occasional, rudimentary, vague. Their possession is proper to our concealed subliminal self, and when they emerge, it is by a coming to the surface of its powers or operations. These emergent operations of the subliminal being, or some of them, are now fragmentarily studied under the name of psychic phenomena, although they have originally nothing to do with the psyche, the soul, the inmost entity in us, but only with the inner mind, the inner vitals, the subtle physical parts of a subliminal being. But the results cannot be conclusive or sufficiently ample because they are sought for by methods of inquiry and experiment and standards of proof proper to the surface mind and its system of knowledge by indirect contact. Under these conditions, they can be investigated only in so far as they are able to manifest in that mind to which they are exceptional, abnormal, or supernormal, and therefore comparatively rare, difficult, incomplete in their occurrence. It is only if we can open up the wall between the outer mind and the inner consciousness to which such phenomena are normal, or if we can enter freely within or dwell there, that this realm of knowledge can be truly explained and annexed to our total consciousness and included in the field of operations of our awakened force of nature.
Yeah.
So, Rangada,
Yes, tell me.
yeah, before we start this paragraph, I had a question that part of the subliminal.
I couldn't hear you. A lot of disturbance.
Subconscious is not a part of the subliminal.
Which one?
Subconscious.
No, subconscious is in a sense, because in a sense it is because subconscious is below, intraconscious is inside, horizontal. So there is certainly a connection between the two. Okay, so even if you go into the intraconscious and go deeper down, probably it's the subconscious. You must not think of these things, as geographically located.
Okay.
So, but the subconscious is not the subliminal in the normal sense. The subliminal increases your consciousness, whereas the subconscious reduces your consciousness. Okay? In that sense, it is opposite. Okay, so now we read each sentence. So, yesterday we saw that if you go into the intraconscious, what is called subliminal, you have the power to get into contact with so many other things. So Srimji is explaining that more, and some very interesting things he is saying in this paragraph. The first thing is that you are not using your senses. Your gross senses you are not using. You are using subtle senses. That's the first thing you must keep in mind. Now I'm reading each sentence. But more important is the power of the subliminal to enter into a direct contact of consciousness with other consciousness or with objects. So we'll stop here and look at what he's saying. Direct contact of consciousness means directly you perceive the without this senses, without eyes, without the gross physical eyes, physical ears, physical nose, physical tongue, and physical skin. You don't. You use directly. That's the first thing. Then what is your consciousness contacting? What is it coming to know? It can come to know other consciousnesses. So if I am in front of you, I can know what you're thinking, and I can know also what is your state of consciousness, whether you are happy or unhappy, and what is there, even your emotions I can know. That's the first thing. But second thing is adding also objects. In other words, if there is a pen lying on the table, my consciousness can get into the vibrational, very low consciousness of the object. Okay? Because the object is not conscious in that sense. A person is conscious, an animal is conscious, but it is not possible for a pen to be conscious. But since I mentioned animal, I'll also talk to you about it. Very interesting. If you are standing in front of me, I can know your thoughts. Okay. Now the question is, what about an animal? Can I know the very vague thoughts of an animal? Okay, I don't know if you have known this, but in the internet there is a very interesting example of this. Okay, there are people who can communicate with animals, and they are called horse whisperers. And recently in India we have made a movie which won an award in Cannes. It is called the Elephant Whisperer. Okay, and they always use this. The one who can communicate with animals. So this movie won an award because they brought up a baby elephant. You must have heard about it. It is in Tamil Nadu. They brought up a baby elephant, and the elephant was most responsive to their emotions. It's a very interesting movie. I have not been able to see it because you have to pay for it. It's a documentary. So now I'll tell you a very interesting story about a leopard. Okay, because this Srimji is saying this. So when you say only other consciousness, it can be human consciousness, which is definite. I'll give you an example of that also. And with an animal consciousness, an object we know that somebody who is capable of, suppose someone is missing. We always give this example. The police call who are psychics. Nothing to do with the psychic being, but psychic means you are capable of psychologically investigating things which are not very easily available to others. So they call, and this psychic will come home to the person whose son is missing, for instance, and he will look at things which he possessed. He will touch. And when you touch the object, everything about that person, or at least some things about that person, you come to know. And they tell the police, no, this boy is not dead. He is there in such and such a town. Okay, you contact him. Or he is gone. And if he is gone and dead, they can even tell you where his body is buried or where his body is lying. So that's one thing. But now on the animal, there are people who can communicate with animals. It's very interesting fact. But animal accurate contact. Huh? So here is a story about a leopard which was kept in a place where there were many animals. Okay, there are people like that who go on. Even in India, we have not zoos. Personally, privately, they keep animals which are in distress. We used to have a lady here, Amra's mother. Her name was Shanta. She was an Irish person. Okay, and she was very fond of saving birds, particularly birds she was interested in. I myself have also handed over one or two birds which fell on the press terrace to her, and she revived them, and then they flew away. So now this leopard was brought because it was in a very angry mood. Okay, it was not at all allowing anyone to come near it. it used to growl. So these two people who were looking after this animal with many other animals, so they wondered what to do. Then they came to know of a person who can communicate with animals. Then they said, why not experiment? And so there's a video clip on this on YouTube. Okay. So they called this person who can communicate with animals, and she came and she started talking with the animal, and it was in a cage. Okay. And talking not loudly, by thought. She went on communicating, and she went on for a long time, and the leopard suddenly became very calm and quiet. It was not growling anymore. So later on, when she had finished communicating with the leopard, she told the people who were there, the ones who were looking after the animal, she told them something very interesting, which was verified later on. She told them that this leopard is in this particular mood because previously where he was there was a young leopard who was ill-treated by the owners there. Okay, it is ill-treated. And so this leopard was very hurt emotionally. All this you may believe or you may not believe, but these are all facts. Okay, so she was very hurt, and she is now against all human beings because they have ill-treated the young leopard, the bacha leopard. So when she told them this, they were very surprised. They said, my God, what is this? So now the thing is to verify what she's saying. So they contacted the previous person who had this baby leopard, and they came to know through others that yes, that baby leopard was ill-treated. So that changed the whole thing, and they verified. So here is a person who is able to contact the consciousness of an animal and come to know accurately what that animal is feeling and communicating, but not with words, obviously. Animals communicate with vibrations. Okay. So this is what happened. So this is what Shenli is saying. But more important is the power of the subliminal to enter into the direct contact without gross senses. Direct contact of consciousness with other consciousness. It can be a human or animal or with objects even. Objects, I have given you an example. To act without other instrumentation. Okay? You don't need to have any other instrumentation. By an essential sense inherent in its own substance. In other words, the manas in your mind is contacting the vibrational manas in other minds and other living creatures. Okay? Even objects, not even living creatures, inanimate objects. So this is what he said. By an essential sense, okay, essential sense, inherent in its own substance, by a direct mental vision, or it can be by a direct mental vision, or by a direct feeling of things, even by a close envelopment and intimate penetration, and a return with the contents of what is enveloped or penetrated, by a direct intimation or impact on the substance of mind itself. So there are so many ways it can be done. Not through outward signs or figures. You don't need to use outward signs and figures at all. A revealing intimation or a self-communicating impact of thoughts, feelings, forces. It is by these means that the inner being achieves an immediate, intimate, and accurate, spontaneous knowledge of persons, of objects, of the occult, and to us, intangible energies of world nature. Intangible, non-physical, because tangible means touchable, that which you can touch. So non-material energies of world nature. So look at that. Even in the universal energies also, you will be able to contact these that surround us and impinge upon our own personality, even physicality, mind force and life force. Okay, so it can even affect your body, mind force and life force. In our surface mentality, we are sometimes aware of a consciousness that can feel or know the thoughts and inner reactions of others or become aware of objects or happenings without any observable sense intervention or otherwise exercise powers supernormal to our ordinary capacity. But these capacities are occasional, rudimentary, vague. Okay. Now, I'll give you a very interesting example, and it is so stunning that I've never forgotten about it. And it is something that happens so rarely that I can speak about it without any hesitation, because I'm very interested in what's in this. Okay. So, I'll tell you two things which happened to me only twice. Okay. I was in the press. I was sitting at my desk. It is 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, you normally have your breakfast at whatever it is, 7, 7:30, 8, and you go to work. And you don't think of food anymore. You're thinking only of the work. Okay, there's nothing else. You're thinking of what to do, what not to do next, how to deal with people. That's what you're thinking about. And there was the head of the department who was sitting a little away. Now, he also is supposed to think of what his managerial tasks are. Suddenly he says, he just calls out my name. He is Ranga. Okay? Ranga, like that, as a questioning. And I immediately knew what he wanted. And that is the funny part. Nothing to do with the work. That's why it was so striking. And you know what he wanted? At 10 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the work, he wanted a cup of ice cream. It's so surprising. That's why I remember. Immediately, I knew what he wanted. It never happened again. Okay, it happened another time, but this is what Sendai is saying. That it is rare. Okay, Sendai what is saying. You can come to know the thoughts of others and their feelings suddenly without any obvious interchange of words or other signs. In fact, I was not even looking up. I was concentrating on my desk in my own work. And when I heard him calling out my name in an inquiring way, okay, Ranga, like that, okay, as though he was going to ask a question, I immediately knew what he wanted. It was so surprising that I'll never forget. So, this was amazing. I'll read that again, you will see. In our surface mentality, I was very much in the surface mentality then. We are sometimes aware of a consciousness that can feel or know the thoughts and inner reactions of others, or become aware of objects or happenings without any observable sense intervention. Okay? Without any, I was not even looking at it, or otherwise exercise powers supernormal to our ordinary capacity. But these capacities, that means in other words, you are not even using your spiritual power. Be very clear about it. See, when the yogi is there, he can use spiritual powers. But simply saying, without senses and without spiritual power, it can come. Okay? Supernormal to our ordinary capacity, not using, without, he's saying without. Okay? Of other. But these capacities are occasional, rudimentary, vague. There you are. So, vague in the sense that how much he wanted to eat and what variety, all these things I did not know. But I knew that it was ice cream. So that's why you know how accurate Sendai is. I knew that he wanted, but what variety, when he wanted, how much he wanted, that's why it is vague and rudimentary and very occasional. Okay. So now you can see how Sendai, what he has not experienced and how he is including everything that is possible. Their possession, the possession of these capacities, is proper to our concealed subliminal self. In the subliminal, all these powers are available. And when they emerge, it is by coming to the surface of its powers or operations. These emergent operations of the subliminal being, or of some of them, are now fragmentarily studied under the name of psychic phenomena. Okay? Now, Sendai is saying, although they have ordinarily nothing to do with the psyche is the psychic being. Psyche is the psychic being in normal English, but Sendai uses the word psychic being. The soul, the inmost entity in us, but only with the inner mind, inner vital, subtle physical parts of our subliminal being. So this is what Sandra is saying, that you are using for these type of things, you are not using your psychic being. You are using your inner mind, inner vital, subtle physical. Okay? But the results cannot be conclusive or sufficiently ample. So it is vague. He has already told you it is occasional, rudimentary, and vague. So results cannot be conclusive or sufficiently ample. But if you are in a yogic consciousness, you can be very, very clear, and it is no more occasional, nor is it vague. It's very precise. You know exactly what has happened. Okay. Because they are sought for by methods of inquiry. He's talking of the scientific experiments. Okay. For instance, about Uri Geller. Okay. He has this peculiar capacity of bending metal objects by just looking at them. Okay. Our Gauriji's father, Udar was a very central figure when mother was there. He went and met Uri Geller in America. Okay, so this experimentation, science is trying to find out how he has this power. The experiments are not proper because they have to use psychological methods, but they are using physical instruments, and so therefore it cannot be perfect because they are sought. The experiments are sought by methods of inquiry and experiment and standards of proof proper to the surface mind and its system of knowledge by indirect contact. You are using your senses and your mind, but that's not the way to investigate this psychic phenomenon. Under these conditions, they can be investigated only insofar as they are able to manifest in that mind to which they are exceptional, abnormal, and supernormal. So if you get an experience of this, then it is verifiable by someone who is capable of understanding these things. That's what he's saying. So, in that mind, they are exceptional, abnormal, supernormal. And therefore, they are comparatively rare, difficult, incomplete in their occurrence. Only those who are yogis, yes. It is only if we can open up. And if you are a yogi, then it's not occasional vague, okay? It's very clearly, very, very precise. So it is only if we can open up the wall between the outer mind and the inner consciousness to which such phenomena are normal, or if we can enter freely within or dwell there, that this realm of knowledge can be truly explained and annexed to our total consciousness. So annexed means now it becomes a part of your consciousness and included in the field of operation of our awakened force of nature. When you're going into the subliminal, then your capacity of understanding things much enlarges because your consciousness is vast. If you remember, okay, yesterday I did not tell you, but today I'm telling you. I think they discussed earlier. If you think of yourself as a house, that's a very interesting image because then it explains how you are part of the universe. If you are like a house, normally our surface consciousness is only the front room. The windows and the doors are our senses. Okay? And we are looking out, and how much can we see through the doors and windows? Very little. So that is exactly what our condition is. Our doors and windows are our senses. Eyes, ears, nose, taste, tongue, and skin. So we know very little. But if I go to the top floor, which is up, okay, then I can see much more because I'm on the terrace and my sight is now much wider. I can see so much more, so I understand more. That's a spiritual planes of consciousness. Okay, level 2 on the terrace. But there's also something below you. You have a cellar where you put also a basement, where you put all sorts of things which you don't normally need. That's a subconscious. And even if you go even deeper, there is a foundation which is laid for the building. And that is the that's the inconscient. The inconscient is the foundation. The subconscious is the cellar. You are on the first floor looking out from your doors and windows. And you go to the top floor, you are in a spiritual consciousness. And if you go inside your house, normally a house is running in India at least 40 feet by 60 feet. And you don't build the whole house on the whole thing, but at the back there is a small kitchen garden. And that kitchen garden is open to the sky. Now that is what is meant by subliminal consciousness. Whatever is there in the universe is available to you because there is no roof covering you. So that's an image for the intraconscious. And when you go there, you are in touch with the universe. Okay? So that's if you keep this image in your mind, you will understand it. And to take the image a little further, I have got a terrace. Okay, I have got to level 2. But I want to go even higher up. I can do that. I can build 2nd floor, 3rd floor, 4th floor by yoga. I can build these and my consciousness can rise to 3rd floor, 4th floor, 5th floor. Instead of those cases, he went right up to the 7th floor. He went right up to the supermind. Okay, so this is what Shen is talking about. So now he is saying that scientific methods of exploring these things is not very accurate and will not succeed much. It's only someone who has got the capacity of verifying these because he himself is in a higher consciousness, then it is possible. Okay. So now we can read the next paragraph. Knowledge by identity.
Rangada?
Yeah, tell me.
In the middle of the para,
Yeah.
Sri Aurobindo says, their possession is proper to our concealed subliminal self. So here, what is the subliminal self? It is the psychic being, or
No, it's not subliminal. That's exactly what I explained to you just now. When you go deep into yourself horizontally, okay. Just now I explained to you the subliminal self is the kitchen garden at the back. It's open to the sky. You can know much more than when you are in your front room. Your subliminal self is the individual self which goes into your intraconscious or the subliminal. And subliminal and intraconscious is the same thing. Sukhi, it's the same thing. And the inner being also, so they use the word inner being. He uses 3 words for this. Inner being, intraconscious, subliminal. Okay? So this is horizontally, not down, but horizontally deep into yourself. That is the subliminal being. And when
So
you
there
enter, yeah, tell me.
so there are many beings, like a psychic being, a mental being, the vital being, physical being, and subliminal being too.
Subliminal can be individual as well as universal. Just like there is a being also. That also is there. The subliminal being, there is also always remember that everything impersonal, there is a personal aspect. Okay? So when you say subliminal being, there is a personal aspect also too. The individual being, the individual consciousness goes into the universal consciousness in the subliminal. It can go into the universal below. It can go into the universal inside. It can go to the universal above. If you go above, you are in a spiritual consciousness. If you go into yourself, you are in a subliminal consciousness. And if you go deep into your subconscious, then the consciousness is dark and very dense. Okay, and that's exactly what happened to Mother once. Okay, she entered into her inconscient, even not even subconscious. She entered into the inconscient, and she was thrown up from there like a mighty spring. She said she was thrown up, and right from the bottom, she was thrown up to the top, and she experienced the vibrations of the supermind. Okay, she said it is a new world of light vibrating with the. It was before the supermind descended, or was it after? I don't remember anymore. But this is the inconscient. The inconscient is a dark unknown. And when Srivendra is saying that if you want to know yourself fully, you have to know also the inconscient. And that is the reason why he was digging deep to know the. If you remember, A God's Labor, there is a poem called God's Labor, in which he is digging deep with mire and filth And the more you go down, the more you start understanding the structure of the universe. Okay. The down below is the darkness. Above is the light. Just like in a house, the foundation is on solid ground. And when you go up above, it becomes more and more light, more and more wind, more and more openness. This is the what he said. So subliminal being is exactly what we just now discussed, the intraconscious. Okay. And that's why I give you the example of the house so that it becomes concrete to you. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, somewhat clear?
Yes, 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 thank you.
You know,
Yeah, tell me.
can
Yes.
I ask a question?
Yeah.
You know, Amal had the ability to read people's mind and thought.
Okay.
So, was he going higher up in the spiritual plane and doing it? Or was he going into the intra-conscious and doing it? I
Yes.
once remember he telling me that if you go higher up into the mental planes,
Yeah.
then he says it becomes very evident.
So he may have had an experience of going up. Okay. He may have had an experience. Certainly, it's possible.
Because the example he gave me was that
Yeah.
if you go to one of these astrologers,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
and you have some question in your mind which you
Yes.
want to ask the astrologer. For
Yes.
example, when will I get married, or when will I get a job, or whatever.
Yes.
So the moment you go to the astrologer, then
Hmm.
astrologer will look at you and say, yes, you are worried about getting a job, correct? And
Okay.
you will think this man is a miracle because he knows what my question is. But he said it's so simple. He just reads your thoughts and tells you.
Yeah.
So that is going vertically up or going in the intraconscious.
If it is very accurate, it is going up. But in Amal's case, he may have had experiences. But he told me very clearly that he had not been able to silence his mind. You can remain permanently in level 2 only if you silence your mind. But he had not silenced his mind. He told me very clearly. I asked him point blank one day. I said, have you been able to silence your mind? Then he said, no, I can't. I have not silenced my mind, but I can silence other minds. So I said, how? He said, by argument. He was very intelligent. Now we all know that. In fact, over intelligent. So anyway, so the astrologer then, okay, he may be an ordinary man, but and all astrologers can't do that. Obviously, some, if you can do that, they are accessing the from the intraconscious. That's what it looks like. But it's also possible, as I told you, my own experience, I was neither in the intraconscious nor was not even a yogi. Okay. But it just came like that suddenly. And she was saying very clearly, occasional rudimentary way. That's what happened to me. Okay. So it happened another time also, but never again. I can't read people's minds. So it is. But when it's psychic, if a astrologer can do that every time, certainly he is living in the intraconscious or having access to it. He may not be living in the intraconscious, but he may have access to it. When a customer comes to him, someone who wants to know about the future, he may have access to the intraconscious. It's possible. Okay. So this para, in the previous para also, telepathy, clairvoyance, he explained so beautifully all these phenomena. It's mostly of the intraconscious and not the superior planes of consciousness. They are not the spiritual planes. Okay. And another thing, in the intraconscious, there can be mistakes. Okay. But the mistakes are much less if you go up. Even there, possibility of mistakes is there, but much less. Yes, you're saying something.
You know, Mother had once said somewhere that
Hmm.
this clairvoyance and all, you should not indulge in it too much
Of course.
because it's not at all safe. Because
That's
any being can come and make a puppet out of you and, make fun of you and all that.
Yes. Not only that, it can increase your ego also. You're trying to show off and it can increase your ego. That also is there. So anyway, so next time we'll read in our surface mind. So okay, if it is clear what I've told you, otherwise I'll again make a draft and send you by email.
Oh, that would be great. That would be grateful.
I'll try.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. So we have to stop today, 8:37. Au revoir, everybody. Have a nice day.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Rangana.
Rangada. Thank you, Rangada.
Rangana.
Thank you, Rangada.